What's up, everybody? This is Matt Trader, and welcome to another episode of The Trade Show. Now, today I'm coming to you live from the Christ Church in Laurel, Delaware. And I'm here with one of my good friends, a guy I've known for about 25 years, Mr. Dave Hudson. Now, Dave is the deacon of education here at the Christ Church, and he's also the principal of Laurel High School. Now, I was hoping, Dave, that maybe today I could sit down and ask you a little bit of questions about, what's going on here at the church, and then maybe you could offer our audience a little bit of insight about everything you guys have going on at Laurel and how you guys have been navigating through the COVID situation.
Sounds great.
Awesome, man. Let's do it. Thanks. So, Dave, I really appreciate you coming on the show here today. I got to tell you, this church is absolutely beautiful. I know it has a lot of history behind it, and I was hoping that maybe you could share with our audience a little bit about the roots of this church and where it all started.
Absolutely. So our group has been meeting here, the Church of Christ has been meeting here in Laurel since about the early 1940s. There was a lot of activity in the 40s. People were meeting in houses in Seaford. We had some families that were doing some things like that. But the turning point really came when my great-grandfather, Charles Hudson, got involved with the group, and him and his sons and some other folks. One of his sons was my grandfather, Earl Hudson, and they actually built a building here in Laurel. And then I believe it was in the mid 70s where we moved to this location where we are now, next door to the Dutch Inn, that most people know about. But yeah, this has really meant a lot to me and my family. My grandfather was one of 9 children, and most of those children and their families have come through here. We spent a lot of time here. Lots of other folks have too, obviously. But yeah, this is really a family work for us, and a lot of other people have shared in that work. But we've been a part of this for a long time.
Yeah, I know this church has been here some time. You talk about the Dutch Inn. I've had a lot of pancakes, a lot of scrapple at the Dutch Inn over the years.
Absolutely.
My grandmother and I used to travel from Delmar, of course, we're both Delmar boys, to the French's Food Right.
Absolutely.
So I've seen this church a lot, just have never been inside it, and it's impressive. And I know that you preach, and you've been preaching here, and I've been fortunate enough to see some of your work, and it's unbelievable. And when did you start preaching? When did all that start?
So I actually picked it up in college. I enjoyed it so much I changed my major to Bible. In college, I actually went to school to be a teacher, which we'll talk about that more later. But I changed my major to a Bible when I was in college down at Harding University in Searcy, Arkansas. And the first time I ever preached from a pulpit was in Bradford, Arkansas in 1999. So I've been doing it for a little over 20 years. I preached here for the first time in 2000. Over the years, whenever we've not had full-time ministers here, I have typically filled in since that time. So I've preached a few hundred times from right here, and I really do love it. I think the opportunity to talk about Jesus and to try to help people understand, who Jesus is and why he matters. Yeah. I think that's really important. And it's hard because a lot of people, none of us really, we all struggle with understanding greatness. Mm-hmm. It's hard to explain to someone who's never seen Michael Jordan play basketball what it was like to watch Michael Jordan play basketball. Well, Jesus was perfect. He was beyond great. He was perfect. So you're trying to make that come to life. You are learning about Jesus and all the amazing things that he taught and the examples that he led. And you're trying to bring that to life and then illustrate it to people who, I'm a person who can't picture perfection, trying to explain to people who can't picture perfection what perfection looks like. Yeah. So you need a lot of grace, you need a lot of patience, you need people to work with you, but you do the best you can, and I absolutely love it. It is one of the true passions that I have in my life.
Like I said, I was been fortunate enough to see some of your work. I know I watched some things that you've done on YouTube, and to me it's just been unbelievable. And what you do is you take, and if you don't know Dave, if you have never seen him preach before, he takes a lot of relatable topics to specifically our generation, in which I'm a big guy with 80s and 90s nostalgia, so I love that. I absorb that,
and we share that definitely.
Yeah, as you can see, he's bringing Michael Jordan into a conversation about Jesus. I mean, they're probably one and the same to most, right? Right? That's another
Jesus a little better, but that's okay. Go ahead.
But anyhow, if you've never heard Dave's message, I think it's relevant, and I think that everybody needs to hear it. And so, since we're on the trade show, what I've decided to do today is I've decided to make a trade with you. Anybody knows me from fantasy football, I'm always trying to trade, right? So what I'm going to do today is I want to trade you a trader hat in exchange for a message. So I want you to deliver our audience a message. And if you guys don't, you up for that?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, so if you guys don't mind, Dave's going to share with us a message, and we'll see you back here in a few minutes.
Like everybody else, this is the time of year where I start watching holiday movies, and I love them. I love just about all of them. But one of my favorites is A Christmas Story. And of course, if you've never seen that, just tune into TBS or TNT all day Christmas Day. It'll be on for 24 hours, and you'll love it. But one of my favorite parts is when Ralphie's father solves the crossword puzzle in the paper, and he sends it in to win a prize, and that prize shows up. He's notified that he's won. He's all excited. The knock comes on the door. It's here. And he runs to the door, and the whole family runs to the door, and they open the door, and here comes this big box that, of course, is Italian because it says Fragile on the box. And they open it up, and he jumps in, and he dives, and he's throwing the straw that it's been packed in, and he comes up with this leg lamp. And, of course, the mother, his wife, is mortified, and he loves it. And he wants to put it on the most prominent place in his house. He wants to put it on that table right in front of the large window on the front porch so everyone can see it. So everyone can know the great thing that he has accomplished. He wants to show it off. What a natural human response. I did something great, and I want everyone to know about it. I want everyone to see it, and I want everyone to celebrate it. And while that is so natural for us, we really have to remember what Jesus says about these kinds of things. You see, Jesus in his Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 5, he says, "In the same way, let your light shine before men." Just like Ralphie's dad, right? We want our light to shine. Now, of course, in this case, he's talking about the light of goodness and kindness and love and peace. But he says, the reason why is a little different. Jesus says, so that they may see your good works, they being the world, seeing the good things that you're doing, and give glory to your Father in heaven. Because you see, the difference between our instincts and what Jesus wants from us is why people see the things that we do. We want to be celebrated ourselves very often. But yet if we want to be like Jesus, which is really our goal, we want to be like Jesus, we've got to remember to make sure the glory goes to the one who really deserves it, and that is God the Father. Thank you very much.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, it doesn't take a little orphan Annie Dakota ring to figure out that message. That was good stuff, man. Honestly, that was good stuff.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I know we were talking about you being a preacher, and I also came here today to talk about you being a principal. And I know with being a principal, you also have to communicate and talk a lot. How does being a preacher here and being a principal, how does that relate, and how does that each one of those things help you with one or the other?
Sure. So the biggest thing is probably it puts me in the community. Like people know that while I live in Delmar, I'm a part of the Laurel community and always have been because I've always been here. And my family's from here. I've often said, Delmar is my home, Laurel is my heritage. So it's really important to me for people to know that I'm in the community, I'm here, and I care about them. The public speaking part, obviously, there's more public speaking as far as being a high school principal than there is probably any other job in schools other than superintendent. And so that helps. That's help. And for me, that's a particular challenge because I'm a stutterer, So I'm trying to do a couple things every time I speak, whether it's preaching or whether it's doing some kind of public speaking for school.
You're a stutterer?
I am.
For real?
Yeah,
I never would
I
have
am.
known that.
I am. So I have to not only figure out what I want to communicate, I have to figure out what words I'm going to use because I don't want to get anxious about words. Yeah. I don't want to get scared of words because that happens. And that's a very, very bad and lost feeling. So I'm kind of trying to put this puzzle together of what can I physically say, what needs to be said, and how can I merge those two. And that, to me, that's fun. Like I actually love that challenge.
Yeah.
That's a really cool thing for me. But
puzzle a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I tell you, it's funny because so like I said before, Dave is the principal of Laurel High School. We talked about that on top of the show. But for those of you who don't know, maybe you're watching another state, another territory, Dave's also from Delmar. And Delmar and Laurel are basically rival towns, big time rivalry forever. So Dave went to Delmar, grew up in Delmar, and is now the principal of Laurel High School. And So I got to ask you, how is that? Like, how is that being the principal of Laurel?
It's interesting, especially in the world of Facebook. You know, it is funny. But I will tell you, I've worked in law for 8 years now as a principal. I was an elementary principal for my first 6 years, and then this is my second year as the high school principal. And before those 8 years, I did not own a red piece of clothing. Literally, when I interviewed for Laurel, I had to buy a red tie, first one I ever owned in my life. Now I don't own anything orange. So it's funny how that nothing, not one thing. It's funny how that works. I don't
Dave
know
Hudson's going to be disappointed.
He is. I don't mean to coach her. I still
Sorry,
love
Bobby.
you. I still love you. Yeah. But yeah, it is interesting. But I think at the end of the day, people know it's about kids, and we're all really on the same team. It's funny because a lot of times I firmly believe that if Del Mar was playing, Howard in the state championship, most people from Laurel would want the downstate school to win, and vice versa. When Del Mar does that, the Laurel folks are gonna root for them because, we are kind of all a community over here, this end of the state and this side of the county.
It's like college basketball. You kind of root for conferences.
Sure.
That's how I am. I'm a Georgetown fan, but when Georgetown was knocked out, I was rooting for Connecticut and Marquette and all those other schools.
Absolutely.
So, one of the things that, and it pains me to say this, right? So, over the last few years, don't pain me to say it. It's your show, you're Principal Laurel, but over the past few years, I've heard, so many great things about Laurel, and I drive into town, and I just see so much evolving in this community, in this town, and I really feel like there's a lot of upside here. And obviously the school district's doing really well. I attribute that to the fact that they were smart enough to hire a bunch of old Del Mar people to run the show, right? The old staff, right? So
we love having everybody.
Yeah.
Good people, no matter where you're from.
But this is me from the outside, kind of looking in. Why don't you give our audience a little insight on everything you guys have going on in the school right now, and what's going on exactly?
Sure. So like I said, over the last 8 years, I've seen a lot of transition. About 6 years ago, Dr. Larimore came on, who's a Laurel graduate and worked at Del Mar for a number of years as he came on as superintendent, and that was really where things started to pick up some steam. But we've got new buildings now, for new buildings or redone buildings for every student. North Laurel is the first building I was hired in, but now it's been renovated on the inside completely. So now that's our kindergarten and pre-K center. You walk in, state-of-the-art facility, state-of-the-art, new elementary school, new middle school, new high school. We've got great buildings, great facilities, great people who work for us. And it's just the idea of having that central vision that we follow. We want to prepare all students for success in the 21st century, and that's what we're trying to do. And we've got people that are dedicated to that and work hard to do that. And that's really what it takes. It takes a team of people that are really dedicated to helping our kids as best we can, and that's what we want to do. And I'm very proud of what we're doing here at Laurel, and I hope that we only get better from here.
Yeah. And how have you guys been able to navigate through what's going on right now?
Yeah, it's been very difficult. It is very difficult. Our teachers don't like not seeing the kids. Our kids don't like not coming to school as much. But we also want to keep kids safe. So it really is. It's an impossible situation. I just take my hat off to Dr. Larimore and our school board and those that make that decisions, because those are not easy decisions. You're going to make someone mad no matter what you choose. Yeah. But we do appreciate our community's patience as we make those decisions, because we really are trying to do what's best for the kids. And
well, speaking of making somebody mad no matter what you choose, I have quite the question for you today. All right, maybe the most difficult question ever, and I think you've probably already answered it, really. but I'll ask it anyhow.
I'm a little scared.
Hypothetical scenario: Del Mar's playing Laurel in the state championship. Mm-hmm. Who you rooting for? Who you got? And you're an old Del Mar football player. So.
I am. I played the state championship in 1995.
Yeah,
yes, I did. So I know, and I'm sorry not to answer your question, but I do have a trade show gift for you as well.
Okay.
As you open that slowly, maybe that might help you with my answer. But let me just say this. When I watch Del Mar football, I love those blue helmets because I wore one. I love those orange shirts. I don't know if they wear the orange shirts too much anymore, by the way, but I love the orange shirts because I wore one. But when I watch them, I see number 70, number 55, number 16, number 21. When I watch Laurel, I see Caden, I see Javier, I see Trevor, I see Cam, I see Kylie's.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. The difference is, those are my guys in Laurel.
Yeah.
So, push came to shove, I would be rooting for the Bulldogs 100%. If Delmar was playing anybody else, I would root for Delmar 100%.
Yeah. I respect that. I respect that. And by the way, he did come through with his shirt. Which, by the way, what you don't know is my cousin-in-law is actually Joey Jones, who's taken over the job at Laurel High School. A great guy.
Does a great job
for us. You guys have a gym there. I know that program is up and coming. I know a lot of my friends who coach Delmar as well. Shout out to Cam Kemp, Jonathan Layton, Alan Preston, all those guys. I know you're probably not real happy with me right now, but in fairness, Jonathan Layton, I have asked you to come on this show multiple times, and you haven't. You've turned me down. So
and I
went to Laurel, baby.
And I coached with John and coached Alan when he was a player. So those are great guys, man. I'll always love those guys 100%.
Absolutely. No, that's good stuff, and I absolutely respect it. So we're going to wrap things up. If there's anything else you want to tell our audience, whether it's about school, preaching, anything else, now's your time to do so.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, and just we just want to wish everybody, a happy holiday season, kind of as we're doing that. They oftentimes you see the phrase Jesus is the reason for the season. The truth is he's the reason for every season. So I hope if you don't take anything else away from what we talked about or what I had to say, and thank you for your patience for listening. But just remember how special he is. He promises that those that seek will find him, and I would encourage everyone to do that if you see it in yourself to do so.
Dave, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. I got to tell you, it's probably one of the easiest ones I've done. It's flowed. Flowed great. I appreciate you. I appreciate the message you gave everybody. Happy holidays to you and your family. And for anybody else out there who's looking to trade an idea, a property, a story, just a good conversation, feel free to give me a call, 443-614-4297, and we'll get you right here on the Trade Show.
And can I say one more thing before we leave, please? I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
I wanted to tell you, I love the show, by the way.
Okay.
I love it. And the reason why I love it is because you take interest in the people that you're talking to. And I think you should know that's an attribute of Jesus.
Well, I appreciate that.
I mean, people will respond when you show them that you care about them. And that's and you do that. So I wanted to thank you for that.
No, I appreciate that, man. I do. I care about everybody, that I do this with. And that's one of the reasons I've done the show is to kind of put over, everybody I grew up with and everybody I came up with, because there's so much talent, so much great personality out there in all facets and genres of occupation and what people do. And I just want people to know it, people to see it. We grew up well and we grew up with a good community, whether it's Delmar, Laurel, wherever. Amen. And if you want to be a part of the show, like I said, give me a call, 443-614-4297. We'll see you next time. Peace.